Previously, we discussed an introduction and overview regarding menstrual cycle and estrus cycle. Today, we are going to see how they are physiologically similar and how they are dissimilar. What are the fundamental differences between menstrual cycle and estrus cycle? And secondly, what are the different phases are there in estrus cycle and how they are comparable to menstrual cycle? So guys, before going into the details of this particular lecture, please do not forget to like and subscribe the channel if the content is good enough for you for the process of learning. So let's begin. So estrous cycle, as I told that this is the character of mammalian non-primates. This estrous cycle is characterized by a phase of acceptance of a female for male, and that's what known as estrus or oestrus or heat. In this page, the female shows an increased sexual activity and behavior for the acceptance of the male for the process of mounting. Broadly, this is having two phases. As the name suggests, one is follicular phase, which deals with the development and maturation of follicles, and the second phase, which is known as luteal phase. As the name suggests, this is the phase under the control of corpus luteum. Sometimes this luteal phase is also known as secretory phase. What it means? It means that in this phase, there is secretion of progesterone hormone is there, and which comes from the corpus luteum. So that's why sometimes it is known as luteal phase or secretory phase. Follicular phase, it is also known as proliferative phase. That means in this phase, the primary follicles develop to secondary, secondary to tertiary, tertiary to the mature Graafian follicle. Or I can say the follicle which undergoes the process of ovulation. So this is a wider sense of classification. Now to further define follicular phase, this phase is under the control of hormone FSH, and the second important hormone which regulates this is the estrogen. So we will see how FSH and estrogen are playing important role in this phase and what actually happens. And under the luteal phase, we are saying two hormones are playing very important role. That is, one is LH, luteinizing hormone, and the second one is the progesterone. Here, FSH corresponds to follicle stimulating hormone. This is the hormone which is secreted from anterior pituitary. The target is the follicles. Further development and maturation of the follicles is under the control of FSH. We'll discuss how. Estrogen, this is the result of the matured follicle where you are getting granulosa cells. These granulosa cells, they are going to synthesize the estrogen in collaboration with the theca cells. We will see that, and we will also explain in our next lecture what a two-cell, two-gonadotropin hypothesis. Once this estrogen is secreted, its concentration gradually rises, attains the peak, question mark, why? We'll discuss that. Once it increases, from the peripheral circulation, it will go to the central axis in the brain. It carries out LH surge. That means increased stimulation for the secretion of the hormone LH. Here another question mark. How this is possible that estrogen will regulate LH surge? And second, how it will cause a the most important, the external symptoms of the estrus, that is behavioral estrus. So how it will carry out behavioral estrus? So several questions we got from here. FSH, then how estrogen mediates LH surge and how estrogen carries out the behavioral estrus. Once due to this estrogen, the LH surge occurs, then the LH is secreted from same luteotroph cells of the anterior pituitary. Its major function is to act on the dominant follicle, the follicle which is ready for the process of ovulation. And once LH will act, then ovulation will occur. Question here, what do you mean by ovulation? How it occurs? What is its mechanism? We'll discuss. And once ovulation is occurred, then the same matured follicle, that is the Graafian follicle, is converted to another structure. That structure appears yellowish in color, and it is that structure which regulates the estrus cycle further as well as pregnancy. That structure is known as corpus luteum. So we will discuss what is corpus luteum, what are its components, how it is formed, what it carries out during pregnancy, what it carries out during estrus cycle. It is quite interesting to know it, the small structure of around 20 to 25 mm is that which is playing the entire role in regulating the secretion of the master hormone progesterone. Why progesterone is required? Progesterone is not only required for the glandular, muscular and vascular growth of the uterus, but also it prepares for the process of implantation, placentation and further process of pregnancy. So if corpus luteum will remain, and then progesterone secretion will be maintained. If it is not, then progesterone immediately falls out. So that is possible again in two cases. If fertilization occurs, then corpus luteum will stay in the ovary. Several questions. How? What's the mechanism? We'll discuss. Second, if fertilization is not there, corpus luteum will undergo degeneration. Again question, why, how and what is the outcome? If it will remain, then progesterone will be secreted, pregnancy will be maintained. If it will be not there, progesterone will be down. Ultimately, the circulating concentration of the progesterone is not able to maintain the lifespan of the corpus luteum and as well as the uterine lining, the uterine tonicity, the uterine vascularity. And what will be the consequence? That is known as estrus cycle. So we are going to discuss vividly regarding all these phases. So should I summarize? Yes. FSH, estrogen, that is follicular phase. If I can write in one phase, this is associated with follicular development. That means you can also use the word follicular maturation. That's the function of FSH. I can round up here. Estrogen. This is required for LH surge and behavioral estrus. So this is coming under estrogen, LH, two functions. It will carry out ovulation and it will maintain the corpus luteum. So these are the functions of LH. Progesterone, two important functions. One is uterine function. If it is present, vascularity, muscularity and glandularity, that means tonicity, everything is maintained by this. That's known as uterine function. Then if it is not there, then we are saying this in case of menstrual cycle, it leads to menstruation, and here we'll say that the estrus cycle is terminated and the pro-estrus phase starts. So I should write like this to conclude this. This follicular phase is having this, that is pro-estrus, that will come from that side, then the behavioral form, and the most important phase where the female animal will show the receptivity for male, that's estrus. Then the luteal phase will start with the formation of the corpus luteum, and that phase is known as metastress, where the corpus luteum will remain and it will form and start acting to secrete the progesterone. And then the last one is the diestrus. Either we are expecting pregnancy, fertilization, pregnancy, or no fertilization, no pregnancy. That comes under diestrus. If diestrus is failed, means successfully it is over, no pregnancy is there, again start from here. So this is cyclical. So now I am giving one line summary for this entire presentation. Estrus cycle has two phases. Follicular phase, otherwise known as proliferative phase. Luteal phase, otherwise known as the secretory phase. The follicular phase is having proestrus and estrus, two phases. The luteal phase is having two phases, metastrus and diestrus. Third point, the follicular phase is regulated by FSH for follicular development and maturation. Estrogen, that's for secretion from the central axis, it will stimulate the secretion of the LH, brings out behavioral stress. That's what known as estrus. Luteal phase is regulated by two hormones, that is LH, which is secreted from anterior pituitary. Because of this estrogen, we'll make another flowchart to clarify more. And this LH will cause ovulation as well as formation of the corpus luteum. And it will maintain the lifespan of the corpus luteum. Thereafter, corpus luteum will start secreting progesterone. Pregnancy continues, corpus luteum will remain, and progesterone will go on secreting. No fertilization, no pregnancy, the corpus luteum will undergo degeneration. Luteolysis. Once LH is forming corpus luteum, luteinization. Granulosa and theca cells will be converted to a mass that's known as corpus luteum. We'll deal in detail. And if that progesterone is secreted from that yellow structure, that is the corpus luteum. So this is all about estrus cycle. Let us now see how this estrus cycle and menstrual cycle are similar. Previously I told they are physiologically similar, no doubt about that. Mechanism is also similar, no doubt. Central axis, peripheral axis, hormones, they are involved. Then what's the difference? We try to understand that, because in menstrual cycle you will not say that estrus is there. That is a particular phase of female acceptability. It's not there. But it is seen in the same fashion, but having some different attributes that we will discuss. Secondly, in the follicular phase, we are missed estrus, something will come. But here we are not using any word vaginal bleeding, uterine bleeding. We are not using any word in estrus cycle. If it is occurring, that is shedding, but it is internal and it is absorbed. It not comes out in the form of blood. But in menstrual cycle, we'll see the bleeding occurs from the vagina, and it is periodical vaginal bleeding, but the blood comes from the uterus. So let's see. These are typical. So as a learner, you must have a comparative idea of what is going on in the primates and non-primates. Because if this is non-primate, then we'll discuss about primate like human, monkey. So they are showing in a different way. You cannot believe that the regulatory pathways are different in different animals. Even they appear to be similar, but there are certain physiological differences are there. I have framed one lecture to show you specific variation in the regulation of this estrus cycle, and how different animals show different types of estrus cycle we'll also discuss. But today, as it is a normal, or you can say in generalized class, so I am just confined what is being comparable. So here we can see menstrual cycle in reference to human. The word is being derived from this word, mensen, corresponding to a month. That means a monthly cycle. This cycle occurs in the primates, including the most important, that is human, what we are discussing. It lasts for 28 days. We can also use the word 30 days, but 28 days is the common. But in animals, I have not written like this because in animals, different days of estrous cycle are seen. That's in our coming lectures. This menstrual cycle is the character which is seen when pregnancy is failed. That means there is no pregnancy. I can also say there is no fertilization, or I can say it is due to lysis of corpus luteum, or I can say sudden fall and inhibition of secretion of progesterone. That means we can see there is a commonality is there. The same points I told in the estrus cycle. That's not a big deal. What I have written, the same point, same physiological basis. Now let's see how it is being different. So here we can see 4 phases just like that of the estrus cycle. The first, if I'll start with this word, phase of menstruation. When I'll explain the mechanism, I will take this word to the end. But today, as it is a comparative class, just I'm writing for the first. That is phase of menstruation. That means it is that case which comes from here and characterized by the vaginal bleeding. And this can go up to 0 day to 4 day, 5 days, 6 days. It is variable. But yes, we can say it as 0 day when the day of menstruation starts. That is the vaginal bleeding, which is not seen in case of estrus cycle. So phase of menstruation, then the same proliferative phase, that is the second phase. Proliferative phase, you can say this is follicular phase, or you can say pre-ovulatory phase, because ovulation is just going to be. So pre-ovulatory phase. So this is similar to that of this estrus cycle where we saw that follicular development and maturation is there. So this is the first phase. This is the second phase. In this phase, we are seeing the same follicular maturation so that a matured follicle will be formed with a functional granulosa and theca cells. And these estrogen will be secreted from granulosa cells. Concentration will rise, cross the basal level, reach the tonic level, go through the peripheral circulation to the central circulation, where it will stimulate the upper parts of the cerebral cortex, the limbic system, and hypothalamic centers, lateral and medial. So that going to show the process of what? Now a kind of surge for that of the LH. And once LH surge is there, as it is written pre-ovulatory, means it is prior to ovulation. Now ovulation will start. So I can write the third one is ovulatory phase or post follicular phase. That means follicular phase is over. Post follicular phase, or I can write, this is important. This is important because once we are going for vaginal bleeding, that means something is going on in the next one, and that is the pre-secretory phase, because here the corpus luteum is going to be formed. So ovulatory phase or post follicular phase or pre-secretory phase. That means secretion is going to start. So this is the phase which also we have seen in case of animals during estrus. During the time the LH attains the peak. Here also LH attains the peak because of estrogen. And this LH causes ovulation. So here ovulation also occurs, just like that of the animals. But here there is no female receptivity. The female will allow the male. No, it is not like that. So this is the difference. So as a student, as a learner, you have to remember that there is no such phase. So once ovulation occurred, now the ovum is waiting. The secondary oocyte is waiting for the sperm to come fertilize, no fertilization. But what is the change in the ovary? In the ovary is that this matured follicle, the Graafian follicle, has converted into the corpus luteum. So the next phase, the last phase which comes to the mind, that is, we can say, that is known as secretory phase. That means now secretion goes on. You can say phase of corpus luteum, post ovulatory phase. That means ovulation has completed. Or we can say pre-menstruation phase. That means menstruation is going to start. Yes, this one. So pre-menstruation phase. So if pregnancy is there, corpus luteum is maintained, progesterone is maintained, then the cycle will continue. If there is no fertilization, no corpus luteum, dramatically fall in the level of the progesterone, then we'll go for this menstruation. This phase will prepare the next cycle. The next ovary will come into the cyclicity. The ovary and uterus will show the same crosstalk mechanism so that they will prepare themselves for the next process of implantation, placentation, that's known as future process of pregnancy. So with this, we came to a conclusion. If we can compare both of them, both are same almost. Here we marked one phase of bleeding is there, which is not seen in case of animals usually. And here we are seeing there is no phase, means during ovulation, there is no phase of female receptivity or acceptance for the male. But that we have seen in the animals in a different way. So with this introduction, this is over. But before leaving, I have several questions in mind and you are also having. What actually happens in every phases of estrus cycle and menstrual cycle? First question. Second, how ovary is regulating hypothalamus pituitary, pituitary and hypothalamus, how they are regulating ovary. Second. Third, what are the changes which occur inside the ovary, inside the uterus, or inside the uterus and inside the ovary. But always I am seeing a common word is coming in this lecture, that's known as corpus luteum. So let us have the next class, that's corpus luteum. We will understand how this corpus luteum is formed, from where it is formed, what it carries out, how it stays, what if it is not staying, what is the result, and if it is staying, then what is the result. So stay tuned for the next lecture. Go through this, ask me the questions. If you have any doubt, then meet me in the next lecture where we are going to talk about corpus luteum, its regulatory pathways, and how it is regulating these beautiful cycles, that is estrus cycle in non-primates and menstrual cycle in case of primates. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much and have wonderful time in learning. Take care.